I'm going to show you how to use an EQ to tame some of the white noise hiss that is common with using the Canon M50 and an external microphone. An EQ is short for equalizer. It allows you to control the gain or volume of certain frequencies within the sound spectrum. So we can use this to accentuate things or to reduce certain problem frequencies. And we'll do a little bit of both. I'm going to use Ableton Live for this tutorial. The EQ that we'll use is a parametric equalizer. In Ableton, it's one of the onboard plugins with Ableton Live 10 Studio, I think is what it's called, or the Ableton Live 10 Suite. Other digital audio workstations include a parametric equalizer. So figure out where yours is and you can follow this tutorial. The approach is pretty much the same. You just might have some things located in slightly different spots on your plugin. So I've got a window over here with Ableton Live open and I've got a session started already. I have 4 samples. These are from 4 different videos that I did, all testing the Rode Videomicro with the Canon M50. I'll show you the video window and go to the beginning of this and we'll just focus on this first clip for right now. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. So you can hear on that track, there is a bit of white noise. There's also a bit of reverb and there's some background noises. For right now, we're just gonna try to clean that up and make it sound a little bit better. So I'm gonna go to the left-hand side and expand this triangle here. Go to Audio Effects and then find EQ8. You can either drag and drop that onto the audio track in the session view. You can select the audio track and double click, or you could drag that effect down to the bottom and drop it there and it'll create an instance of that plugin. So the first thing we want to do is just get rid of some common problem frequencies that are not necessarily associated with the white noise, but it'll just clean up the audio regardless. It just safeguards it against something in the sub register that we can't hear. So I'm going to take band number 1, and that's this first little circle on the left. It's currently set to a shelf. If I click this drop-down menu, I get several options. I'm going to select the very first option here, which is a high pass filter. A high pass filter cuts out frequencies that are below the set frequency, and it lets all those that are higher than it pass through. I set mine with the high pass filter that has the ×4 on it. In different audio software, that might be shown as 24 decibels per octave or 12 decibels per octave. Try to set it as extreme as you can in this case, because we don't need any of the frequencies that are below the speaking range of the human voice. So I'm going to move this to about 90 hertz, and you can type in the number. So the first knob is for the frequency setting. When you have the high pass filter on, you're not going to be able to set the gain level. You will be able to set the Q, which is the bandwidth, or how broad of an effect your gain changes have. But for a high pass filter, that won't come into effect right now. We'll just leave it at the default. So we have 8 bands total. The first one's the high pass filter. With band number 2, I'm going to use this to bring out some of the body of the voice and give it just a little bit more power. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to set it kind of between 100 and 200 hertz. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a boost. So you can see that I'm dragging it up and to the left. I'm going to set the Q just a little bit higher. And the higher you set the Q, the more narrow the curve becomes. So if I set it all the way up, it's a very, very narrow curve, like a peak. And then if I set it lower, it's pretty broad. So I'm going to set it at 1. In a lot of programs, that's the default. In Ableton, it's less than 1. It's like 0.7. So that should give the voice just a little bit more body. Let's hear that. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. We've got a little bit more body in the voice. We've rolled off some of the sub frequencies that are not necessary for what we want to hear in this case. So now I'm going to start looking for that white noise hiss. I'm going to use band number 8. And band number 8 is set by default to be the opposite of a high-pass filter, which is a low-pass filter. A low-pass filter will cut off everything above a certain frequency and only let lower frequencies pass through. So right now it's set to 18,000 hertz. So everything above 18,000 is going to be kicked out and everything below is going to be allowed to pass through. I'm going to use that by sweeping it lower and lower in the frequency spectrum to see where the white noise hiss disappears. And by doing that, I can know where I can start to add in the other nodes on the EQ spectrum to cut away at that white noise. So here's the low pass filter. I'm going to just use that first clip again. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. I've got the audio set to manual. The gain setting is at the middle notch. I've turned off Wi-Fi and I've turned off the attenuator. So I'm going to take band 3. I'm going to set the Q so it's a very narrow bandwidth. I'm going to set it to about 10. I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it around as the audio plays. That's going to exaggerate any problem frequencies. And you'll hear as we're going through that these frequencies will stick out and they'll ring sort of like a note. Now let's hear that audio and I'll do that as the audio plays. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. I've got the audio set to manual. The gain setting is at the middle notch. I've turned off Wi-Fi. 1.26 kilohertz is where I found a very pronounced problem frequency. I left the node set there, but I left the gain pretty high. So I'm gonna just go in the opposite direction. I'm gonna pull that gain down. I'm not gonna go super severe with this, though. I'm gonna keep it around 5. I might even increase that just a little bit later, because remember, the voice needs some of this sound. I'm gonna make the bandwidth just a little bit more narrow. Then let's hear that audio. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. There's a slight difference. It's not gone, but there is a difference. So let's take band number 4. It's currently set to a shelf. I'm going to set it to the bell or the peak. Then I'm going to do the same thing again, set that Q really, really narrow. I'm going to drag this around while the audio plays. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. I've got the audio set to manual, the gain setting. Okay, so there's a spot like around here, around 3.59 K, as well as around 2.5 K. I'm gonna listen to that one more time. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. Yeah, so that one. So I'm gonna just take this in the opposite direction again. Not super severe on the gain reduction, because once again, we still want some of that sound for the voice. So we can do the same thing with the remaining bands. We can enable band number 5, increase the Q, play the audio. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. And we might set that. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. I've got the audio set to manual. The gain setting is at the middle notch. I've turned off Wi-Fi and I've turned off the attenuator. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. I've got the audio setting set to manual. The gain setting is at the middle notch. I've disabled Wi-Fi, and I've disabled Bluetooth, and I've disabled the attenuator. You probably have noticed after that I'm setting a lot of these, and I'm setting them fairly close together. So let's try simplifying it. Let's take some of these upper ones because those are the ones with the most trouble, and let's just expand them. We're not going to do anything extreme here, but we're going to expand them so that it reduces the gain in a wider bandwidth, and we can get rid of a couple of these nodes, and that gives us more to work with if we need to cut stuff lower in the frequency range. So I'm going to get rid of band 7. So band 7 was set at 5,620 hertz, or 5.62 kilohertz. So I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to take band 5, which is the next closest one, and I'm going to put that around 5,000 hertz, or 5 kilohertz. Then I'm going to expand the Q there, make it a little bit wider. Notice I'm not going to do anything with the gain. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. So we widened band 5 and we got rid of band 7. Let's see what we can do about these others. I'm going to play it once again. I'm going to grab band 4. Or actually, I'm going to take, what is that, band 6. I'm going to move that one around, see if we can kind of free up some space and hit a different spot. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual. Okay, so I noticed just now 1.41 kilohertz is pretty severe. So I'm actually going to bring that one down. So I'm going to take band 3 and I'm going to try to find like 700 hertz. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. I've got the audio set to manual. The gain setting is at the middle notch. I've turned off Wi-Fi and I've... Okay, so it's not 700 hertz exactly, but I'm going to go with that 918 and I'm going to reduce that. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the... And I adjusted band 5. Once you've got your EQ set, just for workflow purposes, create a preset. In Ableton, it's pretty simple. In the right-hand corner of any plugin, there's a little floppy disk. Click on that, and that will create a file under your user library, under presets, under EQ8, and then you give it a name. So you could say white noise, RVM for Rode Videomicro, draft 1, something like that. With that, you can then, on your next project or any other tracks that you have that use the same setup, grab that and it'll create a new instance with the same settings that you had. I created a preset previously, so I'm going to drag that on here and we'll compare the two. The audio that you have is going to be different from mine. You can try this as a starting point, but use the techniques that I showed you in order to sculpt your EQ for your audio. So here's my preset. Notice it's pretty similar. One thing you will see in this is that I targeted frequencies that are a little bit lower, and I don't have the low pass filter on. Or actually, I'm just going to deactivate that one we just made. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual, and the gain level is set to the middle notch. So the hiss is still there, but it's much more faint. So let's hear it without the plugins. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. Let's hear it with the one that we just made. This is the Canon M50 with the Rode Videomicro. The audio setting is set to manual and the gain level is set to the middle notch. So actually that one that we just made is pretty nice. A little bit fussier, I suppose, but it's a pretty good job of cutting out some of that white noise. You're likely not going to be able to get rid of the white noise altogether unless you were to do something like a full low pass filter or a shelf filter that cuts through a lot of the frequencies. It's noise, so it's showing up in a lot of different spots. There are some frequencies where it's much more pronounced, but generally it's going to be all over the place. So that's how you would use an EQ to approach this problem. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this with somebody else who might benefit from it. Let me know if you have a different approach for getting rid of that white noise hiss with the Canon M50 and the Rode Videomicro. I'll have some more videos dealing with this problem using different plugins. Check back here, and I'll see you next time.